Oh, hi! Welcome to my story channel. I'm Grammy Fox, and if you've come for a story, you came to the right place. So today's story is about Tate and the Tattletale, written by me. And at the end of the story, if you liked it, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Sometimes people do bad or wrong things. If you know someone is doing something bad or wrong, you should tell your parents or an adult that you trust. Sometimes someone may do something that we don't like or is annoying, but may not actually be bad or wrong. This story is about a boy who needed to learn the difference between when to tell and when not to tell, and he learned the hard way. Tate sat at the breakfast table with his brothers and sister. Mom packed lunches at the kitchen island. The television loudly played in the family room, but nobody listened, and everyone talked at once. The noise gave Tate a headache. "Johnson, turn off that box," Tate's mom instructed his oldest brother. Johnson complied the whole way there. Before leaving the table, he poured the only box of cereal in an empty fruit bowl. Marvin, the middle brother, had rummaged the cereal and found the prize, which he hid under the table on his lap. "I know you took it," Johnson said through clenched teeth. "No, I didn't," Marvin lied. "Give it back." Tate's little sister, Amy Beth, sat in her high chair and threw banana pieces at the boys. "Mom, they had their hands all over the cereal and now they're fighting. Amy is making a mess," Tate yelled. "Boys, clean up and put your sister in the playpen. Tate, come here." "Why am I in trouble? They were the ones." But, Mom shook her head. "I've been listening. Your brothers need to work out their minor differences so in the future, if there are major differences, they will know how to communicate about them. Your sister is a baby. All babies make messes. On the other hand, you need to learn when to tell and not to tell. Otherwise, you will grow a tattletale." "Oh, Mom, you're funny." "Mark my words, young man, that is exactly what's going to happen." At school, Tate did not mark his mother's words. "Mark my words" means being careful and paying attention because something will happen. During the first hour at school, Tate tattled on a boy with a cold who sneezed in his hand instead of his elbow. Then he squealed on a girl that cut in line because her best friend let her move in front. He tattled at recess when a boy ran around with untied shoelaces. Tate tattled because he did not get a turn on the swings. Lunchtime came and he told on a kid who spilled milk. When Tate got home, he tattled some more. His older brothers played a video game during his favorite show and would not let him watch it. Amy Beth had a dirty diaper, but everybody already knew that. Shoo! Bedtime came for lights out. Marvin still had his on, reading a history book, but he had permission. Then Saturday morning came, a wonderful, glorious day to play and have fun. Tate went about his business getting ready, making the bed and brushing his hair. He got dressed, but his baseball uniform felt kind of funny. Tate walked into the kitchen. "Mom, I think my uniform's getting too tight." She looked up and dropped the pancakes on the floor that she was moving from a skillet to a plate. Her mouth hung open and her eyes were wide in surprise. Then his brothers came into the room and stopped in their tracks. Everybody stared without saying a word. Then his brothers rolled on the floor, holding their stomachs, laughing. Amy Beth toddled in and jumped up and down, trying to grab something behind him. "Munty, Munty," she giggled. "What is she saying and why are they laughing? What's going on?" Tate said. "I think she's trying to say monkey," Mom replied, and then put a hand on her mouth, trying not to giggle. Dad walked in with Grandma following behind. He had picked her up from the airport. She would be visiting for a few days. "Oh, Tate, you should have listened to your mother," Dad exclaimed. Grandma peeked around Dad. Now you've gone and done it. Boy, you grew a tattletale, she proclaimed, throwing her hands up. You mean it's true? He cried, looking at his mom with tears in his eyes. She reached around him and got the end of his tail and handed it to him. No, no, no! This isn't happening. Afraid so, son, Dad confirmed. His eyebrows squeezed together in concern. But how can it be cut off or something? No, it will just grow back in a few minutes, Dad said. How do you know that? How is this possible? Tate asked. Grandma jumped in. Your daddy had one. He never told you? It's a family thing. It goes way back. You're the only one that can get rid of it, and you have to do it without bringing harm to yourself. That's how it works. But what do I do? He wailed. You'll figure it out, son. We'll all be praying for you. Now get your gear together and everybody in the car. It's time to go to the baseball game. I can't go like this with a tail. You can and you will, Dad firmly said. Tate tried to keep tucking his tail into his pants, but it kept coming out. At the ballpark, the kids rallied around the coach. Look, a tail, one of them pointed, laughing. They are laughing at me, Tate told the coach, who stood right next to him, holding a cup of ice-cold tea. Suddenly, Tate's tail grabbed the tea from the coach's hand and poured it all over Tate's head. Ooh, that looked funny as Tate stood there shivering from the sudden cold. They are not laughing at you, but the situation. We are a team and friends. A friend sticks closer than a brother, just like the Bible says. Right, boys? They all shook their heads yes and patted Tate on the back or arm. Now, let's go out there and play ball. Have fun, Coach encouraged. While Tate stood in the dugout waiting for his turn to bat, he saw a little kid taking ice out of the team's cooler and putting it into his mouth. Hey, Coach, that kid is taking our ice. Just as the words left his mouth, his tail reached over, wrapped itself around the cooler, and quick as a wink, picked it up and dumped it on Tate's head. Oh! It was much colder than the iced tea. Great, Tate. Now none of us have ice. That kid is my youngest son, said the coach. Tate's dad saw what happened and made a quick trip for more ice. A little later, the team stood on the field. Tate positioned himself near second base. The batter hit the ball, and it sailed outfield. After touching first base, he and Tate got tangled as they headed to second. He tripped me, Tate called. As the words left his mouth, the tail grabbed his cap and threw it. Tate ran to get the cap, spiraling past the fence. He climbed over and found it caught on a branch, sticking out over the pond. Tate reached for it, and when he did, the tail curved and pushed Tate's bottom. Splash! Guess what? The tail stuck out of the water, not even wet, and Tate was soaked. That is it. I've had it with you. And Tate tried to grab the tail, but it dodged in and out through his hands. The thing had a mind of its own. Tate sloshed back to the game, but the coach sat him out for the rest of it. Dad drove the family to the ice cream shack after the game. 1 scoop of your choice, he instructed. Tate looked over and Johnson had 2 scoops. Dad! He felt the tail twinge, grabbed it, and did not say any more. He did not know Johnson paid for the second scoop with his own money. When they were home, the family sat on the back porch. The grown-ups visited, and the kids played shadow tag and chased lightning bugs. Have you ever done that? It's really fun. You gotta try it. Marvin found and caught a baby toad and played with it. Mom! Again, the tail twitched, and Tate kept silent. They all cleaned up and got ready for bed. Did everyone brush their teeth? Mom said. Tate knew Marvin had not, but kept quiet. As Tate lay in his bed later that night, he could not sleep. He thought about the tale and what happened that day and what happened before he got the tale. He thought he understood. He grew a tattletale because he was a tattletale. He did this to himself. He prayed and asked God to forgive him and knew God forgave him because that's why Jesus died on the cross. Then he thanked God for his forgiveness. The next day after Sunday morning service, Tate and his brothers rode their bikes to the convenience store to get sodas. They passed the police officer sitting next to the parking lot in the car. Inside the store, Tate filled his cup. He saw a man sliding things into his pockets when he looked over, which he had not paid for. This was exactly what his mother was talking about. There are times to tell and not to tell. This was a time to speak. That man was doing a bad thing. Tate left his drink on the soda counter because he had not paid for it yet and quietly went out. He walked over to the police and explained what he saw. When the man came out of the store, the officer arrested the thief. The man even had a gun hidden under his shirt. Tate became a hero. He got his picture on the news. Guess what? Tate's tail was not in the picture. Tate figured it out and the tail disappeared. And this is the end of the story. So, one last thing to say. You are special and you are loved.